All right, hello there, welcome back to another wee bit different video. Today's video, getting back into NFL Weekly, something I've been doing since the start of the season and something I will continue to be doing to the end of the season. Now, if you aren't familiar with how we do things here, the first half of the video, we just talk about the standings of the league and just seeing what teams are on hot streaks, what team are on cold streaks, or really just the big news. And the second half of the video, we dive deep into two teams now. It used to be three, but now it's two. Into two teams now and have 5 bullet points on each team. The reason why I'm doing 2 teams now is so I can focus on those 2 teams and get the stats that I want to and be more detailed and polished than I want to. Because I'm dropping 6 videos a week, I can't spend too much time on one specific video because then it just scrambles my whole schedule. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it at 2, but with the 5 bullet points still, and also getting a little bit more in depth since it is 2 now. But anyway, let's get straight into the video. So in the AFC, we got the Dolphins sitting up top at 6-3, Bills at 5-5, Jets at 4-5, and the Patriots at 2-8. So the Patriots season is pretty much lost. There's no way they're coming back from this. The Jets still have a shot. Actually, I'm curious on their schedule though. They got Bills upcoming, then Dolphins, then Falcons, and Texans, then Dolphins again, then Commanders, and okay, so you know what? The Jets might be screwed. Because coming up against the Bills, for both teams, this is a must win. Jets against the Dolphins. Dolphins should win at least one of the two, but they should win both. But at least one of the two, let's just say. Falcons, the Jets can definitely pull off a win. Texans, they can, but they could also lose both of these games because you never know with the Jets, to be honest with you. I mean, they just lost to the Raiders. AFC West, we got Chiefs sitting up top at 7-2. The Broncos making a serious effort at getting back into a wild card spot. Right now they're at 4-5, but they have won 3 in a row. Chargers are a very frustrating team at 4-5. Raiders at 5-5, winning 2 in a row since Josh McDaniels has left the organization, or rather been fired. AFC North, Ravens losing a very pivotal game against the Browns, so this division is even that much closer. Bengals are the worst at 5-4. And then Browns, Steelers tied at 6-3. Ravens 7-3. Ravens are definitely still in control if they handle business, not catch any more L's than they need to. And that's just winning the winnable games. Like the Browns, you were up 24-9, was it in the fourth quarter? No, not 24-9. 24-9 at the start of the second half, and they just blew it. AFC South, we have the Jaguars leading the way at 6-3. I did call it. 49ers were definitely going to beat the Jaguars, and they did. Jaguars, while they are a good team, I don't see them being too serious in the end. At the most, I think they'll win one playoff game. Texans at 5-4. Honestly, I didn't think they'd be 5-4 up to this point, but then again, I didn't think CJ Stroud would be this freaking good. Both Texans and Colts have won 2 in a row, making them teams that are trying to push for the wild card. And it would be insane to see Texans there. So I'm kind of here for the anarchy, or more so for the underdogs, right? Because they are underdogs. Nobody expected anything out of them at the start of the season, and they are by all means destroying expectations. And because CJ Stroud is playing so well, they are in a position to where they can make a run for the playoffs. Looking at the NFC side here, Eagles coming off a bye week, so they're still 8-1. Cowboys looking really solid in that last one, but it was against a completely depleted Giants team. Commanders 4-6. Giants, their season is lost. Looking at the NFC West, we have the Niners and Seahawks tied for the 1 spot. I think the Niners will eventually pull away, but I will say it's fun that at least the Seahawks are making it really close and giving the Niners a run for their money in terms of that division spot. Because by all means, it's not set in stone. I just think the Niners are that much better to where I think they will pull away at some point. Rams 3-6. Cardinals, Kyler Murray on the team, night and day difference. People talk about Kyler Murray in a sense that he's just a solid quarterback, but the reality is, and what I've always stood by, is he's a really good quarterback. Now, I don't know if he's enough to take your team to a Super Bowl, but I do know if you surround him with a solid defense and a decent core, right, he's got a legitimate shot. Now, if his defense is mid, I don't think he's good enough to carry a mid defense to the Super Bowl. But with that being said, 2-8 now instead of what could have been 1-9. I know damn well the Bears fans appreciate that because the Bears have the Panthers pick, and the Panthers are officially now the worst team in the NFL in terms of record. Lions sitting up top at 7-2, Vikings at 6-4, Packers at 3-6. Honestly, disastrous past 5 weeks, and then the Bears at 3-7. not ideal for the Bears compared to expectations. Saints, Bucks, Falcons, and Panthers. Panthers, as we discussed earlier, are the worst team in the league by record now. Falcons 4-6. They've lost 3 in a row, but they've been a hot mess under Arthur Smith. Bijan finally got some touches though, a good amount, and he looked good, man. He really does. Buccaneers 4-5. Crucial victory trying to get back in the win column, and they do. And then the Saints at 5-5. I am not high on the Saints. I think any team can come out of this division, excluding the Panthers, of course. It's just going to take one streaky moment. All right, now on to the second half of the video. Of course, my favorite part of the video, because we get to dive deep into some teams here. And let's get straight to it. 5 bullet points. First team we got, drum roll please. Boom. We got the Buffalo Bills. Now, I have done a portion of NFL Weekly on the Buffalo Bills before, but I'm going to do it again because I believe that this team is absolutely needing a win this coming up Sunday against the Jets. I really think their season is on the line because they have a tough schedule looking forward. But anyway, first bullet point, we got capable of exploding. This offense is always going to be capable of dropping some serious points, of having Josh Allen have running touchdowns, James Cook running touchdowns, Latavius Murray rushing touchdowns, or Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox when healthy, Stephon Diggs, Shakur. They have guys that can make plays happen and get touchdowns, and they have guys that can make play happens to put themselves in a position to get in touchdowns, aka being in the red zone. So I think it's very important to note that this offense, even though they have their own issues to work with, they are capable of exploding, as seen against the Dolphins. They dropped 48 against them. They dropped 37 against the Commanders. They dropped 38 against the Raiders. Like, this team is definitely capable of exploding. Looking at the second bullet point here, the defense is limiting points allowed. But not only that, they're doing a good job more often than not. And so let me pull up the defense statistics real quick. So in terms of defense per game statistics, while they are 18th in total yards at 349, they are 12th in passing yards, which is above league average. They are a little below league average at 19th on rushing yards. But the pivotal stat right here is they are fifth best team in points allowed, averaging 18.4 points for the opponents whenever they score. It is always 3 points, or if it is a touchdown, they limit how many touchdowns in a game. So I think the Bills defense, while sometimes they need to get off the field and they don't complete those third down stops, or they allow too much yards, they eventually force the punt, which is a really good thing, because as an offense, you want your defense to not put so much pressure on you to where you have to sling the ball. But with the Bills, it can be a very frustrating thing, because going into the third bullet point, I think this one is so important as to why their collapse has really been happening. Too many turnovers, whether it's a Josh Allen untimely interception, whether it's a Josh Allen fumble, whether it's a receiver fumbling or a running back fumbling, whatever the case may be, this team just turns the ball over way too much. So I didn't have a statistic on hand, but we can just actually look this up. Okay, so I'm on ESPN right now, and for the sake of you guys visually seeing it, I actually do just want to flat out show you. Let's go to this real quick. So I'm going to zoom in on this. In terms of giveaways, the Buffalo Bills are tied for the second worst team or best team in turning the ball over, meaning they have 18 turnovers as an offense. Literally second most in the NFL, or again, tied with second most in the NFL. That is absurd, man. For an offense that is so elite, they just do too much damage to themselves, and it shows. In terms of their turnover differential, they're -3. It's bad news, dude. Sometimes Josh Allen can make one of the craziest plays, and sometimes he can make a literal crazy play to where it's like, dude, what the hell was that? Like, what were you thinking? But then again, he makes crazy plays in terms of it being jaw-dropping, like, oh my God, this dude is insane. He is freaking good. So you got to find a medium, right? To where it's like, all right, I understand that you're a risky quarterback. You like to take risks, but sometimes you just got to dial it back, dude. We cannot turn over the ball this much. And they flat out just are. They definitely are. Fourth bullet point here is the Bills are way too streaky. So they're a 5-5 team, right? But I want to pull this up real quick because I think it's really important. So they won 3 in a row. Okay, so first game of the season, they lose, right? Then they win 3 in a row. Then they lose to the Jags. Then they beat the Giants. Then they lose to the Patriots. Then they beat the Bucks. Then they lose to the Bengals and the Broncos. Too streaky. Way too streaky. It also describes the play of Josh Allen himself as he is very streaky, right? There are games where he just goes absolutely bananas. There are games where he just fumbles the bag, whether it's literally in terms of fumbling the football or sometimes just too many interceptions. And we talked about that in the third bullet point. But this team has got to be consistent and got to constantly come out firing on all cylinders, because they haven't. Games against like the Raiders earlier in the season, you can just see what they were doing. They were moving the football, limiting turnovers, and just moving at a phenomenal pace, at their pace, right? They were dictating the football game. As opposed to the most recent game against the Broncos, it's just so many self-inflicting wounds. So it's like, dude, I don't know. I know they fired the OC, but I don't know if that's the only issue or if there's more, or what's it going to take to fix this team. But without a doubt, Sean McDermott is on the hot seat and they need to pull through or he's gone. So I'm curious to see how this pans out. But that's going to lead me to the fifth bullet point, which is a question, of course, and that is, can they get it right? They have Sunday, an important game against the Jets, whom they lost to in the first game of the season. They have Sunday to really get their shit together, because if they don't, this might be a lost season. And I know what you're thinking. At 5-5, if they lose one more, they're 5-6. How is that a lost season? Well, this is where I come in and I tell you their schedule. So after the Jets and the Bills, let's say they win, right? Let's say they're 6-5. They play the Eagles. That game is extremely freaking tough. Everyone knows that, because the Eagles right now are the best team in the NFL, at least record-wise. So that's a tough game. The game after that, you have the Chiefs. We already know the Chiefs are considered the second best or best team in the NFL. Record-wise, they're tied for second best, or no, record-wise, I think they're flat out just second best. Then after the Chiefs, they have the Cowboys. Say what you want about the Cowboys, but they're still a really good team. They're at 6-3. Then they have the Chargers. While the Chargers are a team that is streaky like the Bills, they're still a dangerous team to play, and they can come in a game and absolutely wreck shit up. But at the very least, they'll keep it close. Then they have the Patriots, which they should win, but they lost to in their first matchup of the season, so that's a concern. Then they have the Dolphins. While the Dolphins haven't beat a team with a positive record, it's still not ideal to be playing against the Dolphins, which only adds to the strength of schedule for the remainder of their schedule. So if the Bills lose here, they go 5-6. I really think they're screwed. Like, there's no other way to put it kindly. Let's say they go 5-6. Other teams in position for wild card in this division would be, in this conference would be the Steelers at 6-3, Browns at 6-3, Bengals at 5-4, Texans, Colts. You know, I don't think they'll be better by any means than the Bills, but my point is the Bills can be a 500 team. They can't do it. I don't think 500 is going to be good enough to make the playoffs this time around. So we'll see what the Bills do, but it is going to be massively tough. Okay, second team, drum roll please. We got yet again the Minnesota Vikings. Now I think I did them like 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was prior to Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles, and I didn't plan on doing them again for a long time, if not for the remainder of the season. But because their new quarterback under center is Joshua Dobbs, and they've won 2 in a row with him, and they've done it in epic fashion, I'm like, dude, this team needs to be covered, because when Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles, I already wrote their season off. But it looks like they're not joking. Like, they're actually going to make a push for the playoffs. So let's get into the first bullet point here. We got defense looking solid. Say what you want about Brian Flores as a head coach, right? As a DC, let's check out the defensive stats, right? So they are 14th in total yards allowed. Not ideal, but it's a little bit above league average. They are 16th in passing yards. They are literally the definition of average in passing yards. They are 10th in rushing yards allowed. So they definitely are a solid team at defending the run. They are 14th in points allowed, which is again a little bit above league average. And then unfortunately for them, they are awful on third down percentage. They allow too many third down conversions. But if you look at this defensive unit, there's not a lot of guys who are like, damn, elite. Like if you think about the Niners, you know, you can take away Nick Bosa or a Fred Warner. If you look at the Cowboys, your Micah Parsons. Like the Vikings don't have that guy. They have some good guys, for example, like Harrison Smith, but they don't have that guy. Like, oh my God, he is that dude. He is a problem. He is an absolute game changer. I'm not trying to take away from Harrison Smith, but he's no Micah Parsons. He is no Nick Bosa. You know what I mean? So this team doesn't have that, but they are still pulling their weight and keeping their games competitive and close. You know, the Vikings, you know what they do. That's that one possession game kind of mentality to where they're always in a game one way or another. I really can't say enough about what Brian Flores is doing. Hell of a job with, again, a defense that doesn't have any business, had no expectations of being that solid. I'm not going to say good or great, but they're a solid defense and they're holding their own. Leading me to the second bullet point, Dobbs seemingly has been a seamless fit. Game 1, you saw what happened. Quarterback gets hurt. Dobbs goes in. Dobbs leads into victory. Game 2, Dobbs rushing, scrambling, looking like the true RB1 of this team. But he has made a seamless fit because not only are they winning, but they're not winning by scoring 10 points, 13 points. Looking at the past game against the Saints, which have a solid defense, they scored 27 points. Then the week before against the Falcons, they scored 31 points. And the Falcons defense, mind you, while they aren't elite by any means, they are a solid defense in terms of points allowed. So if I go to the Falcons defense in terms of points allowed, they're tied for 18th, which is not ideal, but total yards is 7th. Passing yards is 10th. Again, 10th best, 7th best. And rushing yards is 14th best. So Falcons defense is no slouch, right? Especially for a guy that's just sliding in. And then the Saints, I can pull up the Saints defense. I think this one's important too. So the Saints total yards allowed is 9th best. Passing yards allowed is 9th best. Points allowed is 9th best. And the Vikings are dropping 27? Like, dude, Joshua Dobbs is definitely impressing. He had 268 passing yards and a touchdown, and then adding 8 carries for 44 rushing yards, which is just insane. And then TJ Hawkinson stepping up because Joshua Dobbs is absolutely sniping the ball to him and force feeding him. 11 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown this past Sunday against the Saints. Dobbs has definitely been really solid, which again will lead me to the third bullet point. Even though he's been really solid, negative on this team is there is no elite running back or good running back. And I don't want to offend Alexander Madison. I don't want to offend Ty Chandler, I believe is his name. Yeah, Ty Chandler, and then Cam Akers when he comes back from IR, if he is coming back. I'm not really too familiar with that situation right now and seeing when he's going to be healthy. But anyway, their running backs have a total of like 2 or 3 touchdowns total on the season in terms of rushing, which is not good. So when you have a team that it's very obvious on what they're going to do, and that's sling the ball, it does not help. A run game is crucial in what you are unless you have Patrick Mahomes, right? If you have Patrick Mahomes, it's a different story because while a run game is still important, you can just sling the ball all day. You know, Joshua Dobbs, good on him for coming in and winning 2 in a row, but Joshua Dobbs is not slinging the ball all day. You need some sort of running game to set up that play action, to get defenses thinking on 3rd and short that you're going to run it. Now, it does help that Josh Dobbs, right? He is able to scramble and make plays of his own. But there has to be some sort of leeway and some sort of... You need to make the defense work is what I'm trying to say, right? You need to make the defense work and not just think it's going to be pass, or scramble. Yeah, eventually they're going to be putting spies on... Or sorry, they probably already are putting spies on the defense against Joshua Dobbs. So let's get some good rushing games going outside of Dobbs, whether it be Madison or Chandler. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but with no elite running back, it's definitely hurting them. Now we got a 4th bullet point, and that is the games are still too close. I mean, it's what the Vikings do, which is make a game competitive, but sometimes, dude, you just got to shut a team out. So every game this season, I believe, I'm going to fact check this. So week 1 against the Bucks, 3-point game, so 1 possession. Against the Eagles, 6-point games, that's 1 possession. Against the Chargers, 4-point game, 1 possession. Panthers, Chiefs, Bears, Niners is all 1 possession. And then finally against the Packers, they won 24-10, so that's a 2-possession game. But then back on schedule, the Falcons and the Saints is a 1-possession game. Against the Saints, they had a real chance at just flat out pulling away, but the Saints went on a 16-3 run in the second half after the Vikings had put up 24 in the first half. So that is not good. You should not want to make games that close. You have to be able to put away a team and give them no life, because against teams like the Chiefs or the Eagles, where they can get their offense going, or even the Bills, right, where they can get their offense going and they can sling that shit, you don't want to play with fire. When you need to put a team to bed, you should put a team to bed. Don't give them life. Say night night like Steph Curry did against the Celtics. It's over. Okay, so that's going to lead me to the fifth bullet point, which is, of course, a question. What's realistic for this team? What can they do? What can we expect? Personally, I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. While they are at 6-4 and they are definitely striving and their defense has stepped up and their offense has stepped up with Joshua Dobbs. Well, compared to Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't know if this is a step up, but they're keeping afloat nevertheless. What can they do? Can they make the playoffs? If they do, can they even, get a win? I'm not so sure, because, when Justin Jefferson comes back, it's definitely going to be a game changer. Absolutely. But how is his rapport going to be with Joshua Dobbs? You're definitely going to try and force feed him, but what you got going with TJ Hawkinson is going really well. Now, of course, Justin Jefferson only helps that equation ideally, right? In theory, right? Because he's that good of a receiver. But the matter of fact is this is all new. This is all a short sample size into really how the season's going to play out for the Vikings. Now, personally, I would love to see an underdog story and Joshua Dobbs take this team to the playoffs and then maybe get a win. But I don't know what the realistic expectation here is. Like, what can they do? So personally, I'm curious to see that. But anyway, even though I only did 2 teams, I've been recording for 28 minutes now. So I'm not lying when I say I have a lot on my hands with recording, with making 6 videos a week. Because even though this is a 28-minute recorded video, editing this video is going to take at least 2 hours. With my new graphics design on Adobe Premiere, that shit takes forever to export. I'm probably speaking a whole different language to some of you, but I'm just trying to convey as to why I'm only doing 2 teams at the moment. I got my hands full with NBA Weekly as well. Trust me, like, this is very time consuming, but I still enjoy doing it, and I'm very passionate about doing this stuff. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if you agree or disagree with me, and or any of the above of what we discussed. But as always, I appreciate you guys for watching. This is I'll Even Different. And we out.